Jamar Chase holding looks like it might be back on. We'll talk about this coming up next on the Wincinnati podcast.
It's an exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
This video is brought to you by BETUS Sportsbook and Casino.
Welcome to the Wincinnati podcast. I am Ace. He is Zim. It's a lot going on today, man. It's a lot going on in the Jamar Chase world. It's a lot going on in the Bengals world. It's a busy day today because the last time that you talked to us, we were previewing who we thought would make the 53-man roster. Now we know who's on that roster. So obviously we're going to give you guys a reaction to that. Jamar Chase, unless you've been under a rock today, it's been a lot of Jamar Chase news. So we'll get into that. And then there's been some other moves that the Bengals have made. We talk about practice squad, all of that kind of stuff. But before we get into that, my partner, how you doing today, bro?
I'm doing damn good. Always ready to talk some ball. So we're here. We're ready to do it. So rocking out with us, Wincinnati. Make sure if you're checking us out right now, make sure y'all send it to somebody right now. Not on Twitter, on YouTube. Send it to somebody and tell them to come check out the show. Let's get the subscribers. Let's get the likes up. We got over 200 people in here live on platforms already at the 1 minute mark. Let's get some action going, guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you guys. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure that you guys leave us a review as well. If you're listening to this in your car, you can find the Wincinnati podcast wherever you get your podcast from, whether that's Stitcher, whether that's Apple Podcast, Spotify, wherever you are looking for that and listening to us, you can find us there. But let's go ahead and get into this coming up next.
Hey, what's up, Bengals fans? Mike Hilton. I'm on the Wincinnati pod with Ace and Zim.
All right, bro. We got to talk about it. We got to address it. It happened today. Like everything was straight, it seemed like the past couple of days. Then today, you know, the vultures were waiting, you know, the daily Jamar Chase update. People were waiting, and they didn't see Jamar Chase enter the field. They were sitting there like, oh, I don't know if he's showing up today. We haven't seen Jamar Chase. 13 minutes later, Jamar Chase appears. However, he's not in pads. He's literally back in street clothes. Ended up posting something on the gram. It was like a little Joey B kind of thing. Like Joey B actually made it his profile picture at the moment as well. So people were like trying to decipher, you know, what does this mean? He follows that up, like I said, with showing up to practice, not padded up. Where are we at with this right now, bro? It seemed like Zach was thrown off by it because Zach literally just said yesterday that, you know, they expected Jamar Chase to be back at practice. Right. And then he said, I think I probably put my foot in my mouth, speaking too quickly. And again, this is a day-to-day situation. It's a one-off situation that you got to deal with. This is getting into dangerous territory, bro. Like, I start to think back to the Chris Jones situation where Chris Jones had a situation where he wanted to be extended, right? And that bled over into the regular season. Are the Bengals, like, is Mike Brown and company flirting with the possibility of Jamar Chase not being there for week one now that Zach is even backing off of that?
Man, I still think, you know, that him missing any bit of time is too costly, and he's at a hard spot to hold out. I really do. He hasn't released a statement or anything like that. I feel like he's been, you know, privy to all the meetings and everything. So I'm one of the people that I think that he's out there week one. The one thing that I will say, though, is the same thing I was saying all week, is that getting in football game shape is very different than being in shape. Like, him being in shape is cool, but him not getting these live reps, I mean, yeah, you're right. I think a lot of Bengals fans are trying to downplay it. It is now to me a real situation. I really definitely, I think we've been kind of hinting and saying like this is what it is. I think he just has too much to lose if he does sit out. And everything it would indicate that he would be there. I think that Zac has done a real good job of putting out these fires this whole entire all season, including this situation. Whatever he must have got from Jamar, I don't know how that went, but I do think it does make Zac look really bad by saying, yeah, he's going to be at practice, and then you just show up late, like, and whatever, like, with all that said, though, it still doesn't make me change the fact that just pay that man. Like, just pay him. Yeah. And I get it. You can't just, when they say willy-nilly, you can't just willy-nilly everything. But this ain't Willie and this ain't Nilly. This is Jamar Chase. So it's a little different. The same way that you had to pay Burrow or whatever, same thing. Like, you just gotta pay the piper. And if you don't do it right now, you're going to pay later. And so I just keep on coming back to this whole thing, like just get it out the way. Somebody made a comment about Penei Sewell got paid, or you know what I'm saying? Devonta Smith, Jalen Waddle. This is not like a foreign thing. Now he doesn't have to, just like Justin Jefferson. But when you're dealing with a contract of this magnitude, I understand there's a lot of stuff that we're not going to get the information on, and we're not privy to. We don't know if Jamar's like being a stickler on a detail. We don't know if the Bengals are, you know what I'm saying? So that's the part where I'm just like, I'm out of it, but just get it done. Let's just move on. Cause now it is a topic. We're very close. Y'all know that we're 8 days away from Chiefs and Ravens. Like the season is about to happen. So him not practicing today, I don't know. I didn't like that. I think that they had a plan in place. And I think something has changed that made Zac feel that way. And or else Zac wouldn't have went out there. And he said, yeah, I put my foot in my mouth, jumped out there a little bit earlier. Maybe it's a small detail where he assumed. But I'm under the pretense of thinking, or I'm under the belief of thinking that he might have had a conversation to say, like, yeah, like, all right, so now on this point forward, we're going to do the practice. And maybe Jamar gave him the okay or not. But now he like, nah, and I mean, bro showed up with the shades on.
Right. And I mean, because I know mine had mentioned that as in a talking point earlier about other people being extended. But look at it from this standpoint. Both receivers in his class were extended. So Jalen Waddle, Devontae Smith, right? Penei Sewell, the guy that we went to bat for the Penei and Chase thing, right? Trevor Lawrence has already been extended as well. You know, some people are going to be like, oh, he's a quarterback. All right, JOK also extended. And then CeeDee Lamb, which a lot of people sat that back and said, all right, CeeDee Lamb is what you need to get the new number after Justin Jefferson, right? Justin Jefferson was supposed to be the floor, the foundation. Then CeeDee Lamb was supposed to be like, all right, what is he going to get? Because Chase is supposed to get over that. And that's the ceiling. You've got all of that. Like, what are we doing, man? Like, at the end of the day, this doesn't make sense. Like, I can see you guys playing games with anybody on this team except for Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. Those are the two guys that you really can't play those games with. And now we're at this situation where it's like a staring contest and you're trying to see who blinks first. Jamar Chase isn't blinking. Jamar Chase just showed you, all right, I'm gonna do this whole showing up to practices in good faith. Let's get something done. We get the news yesterday. CeeDee Lamb deal is in. Apparently, to me, this is just me speculating. This is not inside information. This is not me talking to anybody. To me, what this reads as, the Bengals didn't want to come with a better deal than CeeDee Lamb or what CeeDee Lamb got yesterday. And Jamar Chase was probably like, are we serious? Like, come on. Like, you guys know that I'm better than CeeDee Lamb. Let's not play with it. Now, that's just straight up speculation. But to me, like, for it to go from Jamar's back at practice to this right after the CeeDee Lamb thing, it's like, bro, at the end of the day, you have to step into this century when it comes to deals. Like, I know you don't want to guarantee the 60 to 70%. You're going to have to change that. And I mean, Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow alone, just outside of football, are social media and like generational superstars. Like, they're already going to bring in brands just based off of them themselves. So there's no way that they're not making you money. Like, I don't like, there's a lot of people that are like, oh, we'll smart market this and smart market that. Well, people that could have helped you voted no on the thing today to get extra help. So to me, like, it just doesn't make sense, man. Joe Burrow, I saw what Joe Burrow putting on a t-shirt did for me. I couldn't imagine what Joe putting on a uniform did for you. So at the end of the day, man, they got to pay Chase. Like, people that are getting mad at Chase, that's just ridiculous, man. Like, at the end of the day, these players are here to do what they do at a high level, but they also want to be compensated. And it's not that this guy doesn't want to be a Bengal for life, but to tell Jamar Chase he shouldn't get more money than CeeDee Lamb is kind of insane to me. Like, I can't see why you wouldn't want to make Jamar Chase one of the highest, at least top 3 paid players in the league. And at the end of the day, when you add on to this extension, it's not going to be that much in the future. Like, a lot of people are looking at the money and all of that. The NFL is just going to continue to get money from the media and all sorts of things. And they're not like, this would be kind of almost a discount in 3 or 4 years. Now, if he wanted to come back and say, I need a pay bump after that, then you can get mad at Jamar Chase. But for Jamar Chase sitting here asking for what he's owed, it's a little like crazy for me to be mad at him about that.
Hold on. This is one key part in what you just said too. You're assuming one thing. You say, yeah, like, I don't think it's that much for Chase to say that he wants to get paid top 3 money, right?
Yeah.
That's what we're assuming. Imagine, this is what I think. I don't think he's looking for top 3. I think he's saying, I want top 1. Like, I firmly believe that. I'm one of the people, I don't know if that many people have been following like what I've been saying, I guess, in terms of what what he said about Justin Jefferson. I don't think I think if CeeDee would have got more guarantees and all these different things, which he did, and although that plays a part in it, I think he's looking at Justin Jefferson and saying, it's me and you. We are the best 2 wide receivers in football. Everybody else can get out our way. And that's how he sees himself. I don't think none of this other stuff that's happened has had any real bearing on it other than the fact of Waddle and Devonta Smith. So if you're in the crowd that says, well, he's got 2 years left, cool. If I'm gonna just play I'm Jamar Chase. Cool. I got 2 years left on my deal. But let's take a look at this real quick. This is a Super Bowl Bengals jersey. I helped you get there. And these guys that are not better than me, listen to this part. These guys that are not better than me, and Devonta Smith and Jalen Waddle, they're all about to go make $20+ million in year 4 of their contract. Yes, I understand I'm going to make more money than them eventually. But why am I about to go lace them up in the 2024 season? And there are guys like you just talked about, Penei Sewell, Waddle, and Devonta Smith, to me, are very important because those are guys that are in the same class. Jamar Chase has a base salary of $1 million, and I think a cash flow in this whole year of $5 million. But these guys that are not as good as me are going to make $20+ million. Now you could say, yeah, well, you get it later. He's gonna cool. I'll even walk with you in that conversation. You could say, well, yeah, I mean, he just got to wait his turn. He got 2 more years. It doesn't matter about those other 2 guys, which it does matter. But he'll say, cool, since you don't think that I'm worth that right now, that I'm worth getting paid $20 million, like what those dudes that are not better than me are in the 2024 season, that's fine. Next year, when the price goes up, I'm going to not only am I going to perform really well, the deal that I'm probably giving you right now to even be number 1, to even be Justin Jefferson, I'm going to tax you and you're not going to like it. And I'm not going to come to practice. I'm not going to do none of that stuff that I just did. I'm in the final year of my contract, and if you don't pay what I'm talking about then, because you just screwed me out of 2024, I'm not gonna say screwed, but you paid me less than my worth in 2024. I'm gonna come back with a vengeance. I'm gonna cook, and at that time, I'm not catering to none of that stuff. I want top level money, and the market has now gone up, and now I want 40. And I don't want
the longer you wait, the more the market goes up. That's the point that doesn't make sense, bro.
So everybody trying to play hardball right now. Everybody trying to play hardball and say, yeah, he's under 2 years. You got to understand, he's just going to come back and say, you didn't do right by me in 2024. Sure, business is business. We're locked in under that or whatever. When I get to the final year of my contract, I'm not showing you no love, because you didn't show me no love. It's the same thing that would happen to you if you went to work today. It's the same thing. If your boss is telling you that you're going to get a raise, you're saying, I want the raise right now. Who the hell goes to work and says, I want to get the raise next year? I don't know if I'm going to make it the next year.
Nobody's doing that, man. I mean, people are saying he doesn't have leverage. If Jamar Chase don't play week 1 and you go into Arrowhead week 2, he doesn't have leverage. If Jamar Chase doesn't play in that game, what do you mean? Like, are we understanding what can happen at this point? Like, and why would you even want, like, here's the thing. People are just like, okay, push it to next year. His feelings aren't going to be like different next year. He's not going to forget that this happened this year just because next year is next year. Like, that's how situations go back. When you look at the Devontae Adams situation, it wasn't because of what he was offered at the end. He didn't want to sign with them, even though they offered the same deal that the Raiders gave them, because of how they tried him the year before. Like, it wasn't, sometimes like feelings kind of go above that. Like, I think some of the times we act like people are just robots and they're just going to forget everything. You throw a nice check in front of them. Like, things happen, man. If people feel tried, if people don't feel valued, they will hold that against them, because it's like, at the end of the day, this is Jamar Chase. You can't lowball him. And I'm not saying that they did, but like, you can't treat your cornerstones of your franchise like this, like they're not important and that you're dismissing them. This is not a Carson Palmer kind of situation. This is not a Marvin Lewis type situation. This is like having an Ocho Cinco right there and being like, yeah, I'm not about to pay him right now. I'm gonna pay him until next year.
It might be bigger than Ocho. This is another thing too, is that a couple people wrote this comment, and you were saying this before we even went on. You was like, man, how long we been talking about this? Honestly, like, you got to really go back, bro. And the crazy thing is, if we're talking about it, you know, the players are talking about it. So everybody that's just like, just wait on it. Like, if you follow back these shows, I've always been against that, because I understand like the cohesion in the locker room and stuff like that. You could call it whatever you want, but if a guy is playing at the top 2, top 3 level of his position in the National Football League, you have to pay him that. Like, that's just the way that this goes. That's the same thing that happened to Joe Burrow. It's the same thing that happened to Jesse Bates. The difference with the Jesse Bates one is, how much do you value the positional value of a safety? Like, how instrumental is that into winning? And I think it's very important. And as we'll find out later on, you know, will we ever be able to replace him? We don't know. We got to let it all play out. I'm not mad at that. But when you skip out on Jesse Bates, you're doing that under the pretense that you're about to go pay a T. Higgins and a Jamar Chase. Joe Burrow came to the podium and said, I put things in my contract to ensure that we get a T. Higgins. So you can't just say that every single time that a guy doesn't get the deal done, or they don't get it done in like the way you want it. You can't then say, oh, well, I mean, he's been a diva. Like, you're going to do that to everybody. And I said this probably on the last show too. If the goal is to draft a player and then the player gets to the top of his field, isn't that what we're drafting for? Isn't that what you're here for? Is a Bengal fan or any fan of any team, when you watch a player that you draft go all the way to the top, at what point are you going to say, I need to compensate him as such? It's not like we're talking Mike Hilton, top 10 of his position, older guy, and like Like, we're not talking about it. We're talking about 24-year-old, top 3 in his position, undoubtedly.
Probably top 20 player in the league. Like, take the positions out of
it. For sure. So like, to say he's been a diva or whatever because he doesn't want to take less, I don't know where you're from, but there's nowhere in America that works that way. Like, that's not realistic. Anybody that's saying that is operating under your own lenses of what you want from a Bengals team without factoring in this is what's fair to a person playing at that level. They might get it done next year. I think he plays week 1. I think I'm slightly different. I don't
know, bro.
I think he plays week 1.
I don't like. At first, when he was showing up to practice, I'm like, yeah, he's gonna play week 1. This now, I don't know, bro. And like, the thing is, this is like, you could also be pissing off Joe Burrow, man. Like, I just don't like this being a distraction right now. What they need to be focused on is this season, getting back to a bowl, doing what they need to do to stay healthy, getting the offense going. Like, we should be talking about week 1 right now. We shouldn't be talking about this. Shouldn't be what we're talking about. Like,
right.
So,
and
I mean,
we're talking about it over and over again, right? Like,
it's just going to continue, man. And like, honestly, this is a top player in the NFL, bro. Like, I don't know. Like you just mentioned, he said it himself. And this is my thing, man. I'm not saying I'm talking to players or anything like that. I'm just using common sense. If you were sitting there, because Jamar Chase saw what they did to Jesse Bates. He said that in that interview. I saw what it was like with Jesse Bates. I saw what it was like with this. So you don't think that somebody that just got drafted on the team is like, damn, the Bengals they don't even really want to like take Jamar Chase super serious and pay him. Like, players are going to see that. You don't want that to be the rep because players are paying attention. So at the end of the day, I hope that they get it done. They gotta get it done. I hope Al streaming right here with this 199 super chat is right. Hopefully the deal is done. He's waiting for the Chiefs game. To me, if the deal was done right now, he would have been at practice. But yeah, let's hope that they are holding it for the opener. What that would be with the Ravens and Chiefs. So yeah, maybe they will announce it.
8 days. 8 days.
We got 8 days, guys. We got 8 days to get this.
We're on the clock, Hude. We're officially on the clock, guys. We need.
But I feel like with the Joe Burrow situation, because people were like referencing that, and they were like, you know, we got it up at the last minute. It was different because Joe was coming to practice. Like Joe's not that type of guy to not come to practice for something like that. So, and I'm not saying Jamar isn't not showing up. He's there. He's just not practicing.
You know what was a little trippy though? Nah, hold up. Joe had the calf. So then Joe came back. It was a little funny.
Yeah, it was funny.
It was a little funny. It was a little funny. Like, if you remember, it was like he was healthy enough to start practicing, but he still wasn't 100%. And it was a little funny. I would have to go trace the timeline. Let me read the other super chat. It's from No More Money for Ukraine. It's the 89
political podcast. Wincinnati.
I had to read the name. I'm sorry, guys. It's the $89 million signing bonus. When Joe Burrow only got $40 million, Mike Brown will never sign off on it. I don't know that for sure, but appreciate your super chat.
Yeah, man. Let's go ahead and pay some bills. Then we'll move on to our next topic because we've been talking about this subject ad nauseum. Right. But yeah, let's go pay some bills.
Michael Vick at BetUS.com. Catch an incredible 125% sign-up bonus on your first 3 deposits plus 10% gambler's insurance. BetUS, my online sports book and casino.
Yes, sir. Shout out to BetUS. Link is in the description for there. But next, man, let's talk a little bit about this 53-man roster. I got something here for you, partner. Let's see. Let's get this pulled up. Kind of surprised you last time we're having something already, right? So got something similar here.
Let's see it.
Let's go ahead and get the 53-man roster here. So certain things that stuck out, man. I think you start right here at the tight end position. They end up keeping 5. T Huddy. I know we didn't have T Huddy making it. We had T Huddy off of the roster.
Is that our only? Is that our only miss though?
I believe so. I think T Huddy was the only miss that we had.
When we go down, I'm gonna tell you because the only other person I think we cut was Jalen Davis.
Yeah, Jalen Davis, we cut him.
If you're a real Wincinnati watcher, you're a real Cincinnati football watcher. Tell us in the comments if we had anybody else that was off on this. I feel like we hit every single damn player to a T outside of Tanner Hudson.
Yeah, I think so, man. I think T Huddy was the only one, and obviously, like they did some things today with Travion moving him around, but for the most part, we made this. But does anything stick out to you just from that final 53 of what the Bengals did, how they moved people around? I think we even guessed some of the designations that they were going to do too. But did anything change for you in terms of your thoughts on the final 53, or did anything shock you? The only thing that shocked me was the 5 tight ends. I was kind of thrown off a little bit about that. And I know some people are like, oh, well, Gesicki's not a traditional tight end. And that's cool. But like Tanner Hudson is, Drew Sample is, Eric All is, Tanner Hudson is. So like, are they obviously one of them is going to be inactive? It's probably Tanner McLaughlin. But what were your thoughts on this 53, bro?
I just think the one thing that caught me off guard, and I don't know if it caught me off guard. I like it. Is the 5 tight ends. I thought the five tight ends. I think everybody that we saw in preseason, from the offensive line standpoint, I thought all of that was on point. Like that was exactly. I feel like for the first time they got away from unathletic dudes, and then they moved forward with the guys like the Matt Lees of the world and the people that could help us up front that have a little bit more athletic ability. And they went with those guys like Jackson Kirkland is a guy that looked really good in preseason, and he has the measurables on what I think what the backup tackle should look like. I really do. And then you came with the same dudes that you had like Trent Brown, Cody Ford, like everything was on point. We kept the 6 wide receivers, no shock. The other big win I thought that we had is McKinley Jackson being able to avoid short-term IR. I thought was major. And we're going to get into like the waiver claim stuff in a second, but him being available, even if he's not available week 1, him being on the 53 is letting everybody know that they don't feel like he's going to be out more than 2 games. You would have put him on short-term IR just like Miles Murphy was. If you think that you might miss more than 2 games, then you can't afford to hold somebody there for like 2 games. You got to put him on the IR. So that let me know that I think McKinley Jackson might be ready as early as week 2. So that was really good.
Amarius Mims too. Like Amarius Mims not going on with any of that designation means that he's going to be back as well. So I was kind of shocked, which like we said, we'll talk about it later, even though I feel like it's a temporary thing. Not really too many surprises, bro. Like I didn't really see anything. I know some people may be surprised that Zach Carter made it, but like I don't feel like the Bengals were in a position where they could cut any D tackles. Like a lot of people were talking about the 6 D tackles that they kept. Tufele, I just felt like at that position, you needed to stack as many people as you could at that position, especially given the issues with depth. We kind of also called the Jalen Davis thing because, and I think we talked about it last time, Dejon Anthony is a guy that can play that nickel role and can play the safety role. So he's somebody that had a good camp. The interesting thing is all of the rookie class ends up making the roster, even though I feel like the Bengals, it's been a while since I could say that they've like cut somebody that was a draft pick, right? It's been like, I think back to maybe like Jordan Brown, like way like maybe Zach's first season where a rookie just didn't make the roster. But, to see them have all 10 rookies make it, and then our boy John Meta, we knew that he was going to make it, right? He played pretty well. I don't know if – I was going to say there was somebody I thought – I don't know if we had Tufele. Did we have Tufele making it?
Yeah, I mean, you had to have depth at that spot. The Zach Carter conversation is interesting because in the summertime, I kept on telling everybody, The staff isn't going to move off of a guy that just played 500 snaps if you don't have somebody good enough to overtake his position. And what happened with the with the Cam Sample injury, the Miles Murphy, like, so now you got these things on the defensive line. There's no route that, and I kept on telling everybody that the same thing with like Robbins. Robbins could have got a short-term IR, but they didn't because they're saying we drafted this dude, and until somebody unseats him and it's right there in our face, we'll take the L on it. But people got to be ahead of those guys, and they got to show us. And when the injuries hit, I'm like, yeah, Zach Carter's now a lock. And the only way you could have got him like down on the depth chart or to the practice squad or off the roster as people wanted like this all season is to have guys like McKinley Jackson and company and Cam Sample ball out to the point that it will push Zach Carter off the roster. And I know that it seems like a long time ago, but I know like just probably like 2 months ago, everybody's like, no way he's on the roster. Bro had 500 snaps last year. He's on the roster because they're not deep at that position, bro.
And I get it. People are frustrated with him. I feel like we've seen on film, sometimes it could be a little harsh because he has played well in some games. I remember we were watching the 49ers game and he played okay. He made a play. The thing that I think in terms of Zach Carter, right? Like, I don't think that he's this amazing player. Obviously, it's been hard for him to live up to the draft pick. But I think the context that's not being given to Zach Carter, and anytime that I speak on him, I say this every time. Zach Carter played on the edge when he played at Florida. He was not a 3-tech at Florida. So, number one, when he first came in here as a rookie, outside of getting used to the NFL, he had to play a position that he really didn't play like that in college. He was more of an edge, more kind of an edge rusher guy coming off the edge. I remember one of the biggest games that I used to show people was him going against Evan Neal. He played on the edge in that game. So, number one, he played out of position. Number two, the second year, they put him in that position, and then they have him gain about 20 or 30 pounds, right? So now he's playing with a different body than he's used to playing with, and he's still trying to get comfortable in that position at 3-tech. To me, I don't feel like you can fairly assess him until now. It's like now you've had a year of having that weight on you. This is now your third season going into this position. Now it's no excuse. Now it's like I can't excuse anything now. I could give you the benefit of the doubt for the other stuff. Now it's like, all right, what do you have? What do you bring to the table? We got Chris Jenkins in here. We got J2 Fela in here. We got, Sheldon Rankins in here. Like, if you don't get it together, like, you're off of this roster. So to me, I just try to be fair. And I'm like, look, man, look at the whole situation, because a lot of players that get moved around and have to learn new positions. This isn't Madden. You can't just turn somebody into a D tackle or a defensive end and they just end up, their rating goes up or it stays the same. Like, that's just not how it works. Guys have to get comfortable to play in a position. And so we'll see with Zach Carter, man. I honestly think this is like his last chance. And I think that if he's not what he's supposed to be, Chris Jenkins will take some of those snaps from him. I could easily see that happening. So it's up to him to do his thing and show what he can do. But I think one of the things you said kind of makes sense is you talked about him playing that Cam Sample role. That's more of the role of what he played in college, like playing on the edge, coming inside. So will be interesting to see if the Bengals play him like that. But that's just my whole thing on Zach Carter. I know he's like a lightning rod for the fan base. And I know, like, I liked him because of Prime coming out, but I wasn't just like this huge, like, he's going to be the next Aaron Donald. Like, I was never saying anything like that when it came to him. So
I think them putting them at like the 5-tech will be fine. I think that they just kind of get them on that outside shoulder of like guards and getting them like inside of the shoulder of that tackle. I think that that's why I would put them at like 4-eye. Like, that's where I would play Zach Carter at. I don't know what the Bengals are going to do, but I will say though, the Chris Jenkins, though, I think Chris Jenkins takes all of like the 500 snaps that Zach Carter just had. I was just saying, I think Carter probably will take on the amount of snaps that Cam Sample just had. So if Cam Sample had 280 or 300 snaps last year, he'll take on that. And Chris Jenkins, I think Chris Jenkins, they're going to rely a lot on him. But that's part of the reason why as we're going to get into the waiver claims coming up right now, it's part of the reason why I'm like, bro, I don't know what y'all talk. Like when I look at the other teams in our division, their defensive line have guys that are like known entities that we know what to expect, even if you get to the bottom of like the Ravens D tackle room or whatever, right? Like those are known entities. To rely on Chris Jenkins in this amount without like a veteran presence behind him is tough for me to get behind because I just haven't seen it. So like what I like to do is try to get rid of all the variables or the variability of like the position before we get into it. And to me, it's too much variability because I just never seen it. Will they get creative and go with 5-man fronts? I think they're going to have to because they don't have a nose that is anywhere near DJ Reader. So you have to go into those games with different fronts. And I just haven't seen it. And I don't think a lot of those other teams are changing what they're doing up front. And they're coming with stout guys that you already know. So to me, I think our defensive line is the one position of weakness. And the only way you could really get past it to me is if Joe Burrow's consistently out in front and has a lead, now forcing teams to pass, or I'm making huge stops at the end of the game and I'm really relying on that like everyone, because this isn't Myles Garrett and company. This isn't the biggest dogs of them all up front. And when you don't have that, when the games are real tight, particularly like in the division, you have to consistently stop the run with known entities. And that's the part that I'm like, I don't know. DJ Reader was that for us. And so then now that he's not there, I just haven't seen it. They could come out there and shock me, but I think the best thing that could help them is if they get out on to leads. This offense is built, and this team is built for Joe Burrow to score 26 plus points. And that's the best way I could say, like, your offense is your defense. They have to score, and they have to score consistently so that teams can't feast on the fact of running the football in tight spots, because that's what happened to them last year. The game would get close, and then teams would start to run the ball, pound them up front in the run game, and that's all she wrote when you don't have the biggest dogs of them all. Even when Reader was there, it wasn't his best ball. And when he wasn't there, teams took advantage of that.
Yep, talking about scoring consistently and doing things like that. Shout out to our partners at BETUS. Right now, you guys can get pretty good odds on the over on Jamar Chase for the AFC North wide receiver touchdowns. I like Jamar Chase to go over 8.5. If you like him as well to go over 8.5, I think they also have T at like 5.5. Definitely be sure to head on over to BETUS. The link is in the description. Check them out, and they have all kind of dope bets that you guys can bet that are AFC North related, NFL related. So check them out. They've got that special going on that they usually have with the 125% going down. So definitely be sure to make sure that you check them out. BETUS, where it begins. Make sure you check them out. Let them know Ace and Zim sent you. So let's also toss it to our friends over at Midwest Best Barbecue.
Wings and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. It's the AC to the Zim, M into the B's. Uno wings, G-Funk wings, and them CTVs. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Midwest Best is the place to be for curing wings. Say what up to Jordan Battle. We be going to battle. Intercepting balls like CTV did on Seattle. Putting 6 up on AZ. Juice game amazing. Make sure you come get these wings, cause Zimby stay blazing. And T-Game be smooth as ice. Jamal making DBs fold. TV got big levels, and now you already know. It's so pretty for Uno wings. Cam got the new wings. We call them CTBs. Only at MBs. H to the Zim. M into the B's.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue, 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. NFL season is nearing. Definitely make sure that you're at Midwest Best Barbecue, getting some of those wings. Voted the best wings in Cincinnati. Also, make sure you get some of that beef brisket, pulled pork, all that they got there. They got the amazing size, mac and cheese. Keith Lee needs to go to Midwest Best Barbecue and do a review there because they have straight fire food. You guys know we're not lying. People in the comments, let them know. Come on, chat. Put it in there. Let them know your own review of Midwest Best Barbecue, because you will not be disappointed if you step foot in there at 669 Justice Court in Loveland, Ohio. So shout out to Tim and Nicole holding them down there. Not only are they amazing at what they do, they also are diehard Bengals fans like me and you. So definitely be sure you check them out. And then, of course, if you're booking your trips, book with Fans of Cincy, especially if we might end up being in New Orleans. But if you are just looking to travel, whether you want to go to Burrowhead, whether you want to go to Nashville, Charlotte, LA, Dallas, all-inclusive packages that include airfare, hotel, game tickets, tailgating, and more, you can book today at fansofcincy.com. And if you have any questions, you can reach out to Dusko at fansofcincy on Twitter. So definitely make sure that you book your trips with them. You can get there for only a deposit of $200. And if you are already planning on going to the game, you can buy a tailgate ticket for $100 where you can show up, chill out with Bengals fans, get all kind of drinks, music will be playing, local foods will be there. So definitely be sure to check them out. Me and Zim use them all of the time, and we'll definitely be frequenting some of those games with them this season. Make sure that you join us with Fans of Cincy. All right, bro. Let's talk about some of the other moves that ended up being made. There was a little bit of, and I think we talked about this yesterday, and you were like, Ace, I need an edge rusher. I don't care about no Terrence Marshall. I don't care about no Samaje Perine. I want an edge rusher, because right now all we got is Trey Hendrickson. Sam Hubbard's coming back off of an injury. I got Joseph Osai, but I don't have much after that. The Bengals ended up signing KJ Henry, claimed him off of waivers. He was a rookie. And what's funny is I actually went back and listened to our last podcast earlier today, right? The hit that we were referencing with Jacoby Brissett was actually KJ Henry hitting him. And I was like, yeah, that's a dude trying to make a roster. Well, guess what? He just made the Bengals roster. And we ended up bringing him over here. So he's a guy that KJ Henry, he's a big fella. Played with Miles Murphy on the edge. 6'4", 255. Played with Miles Murphy. He was a 5th-round pick last season. Played with the Commanders. Played in 10 games. Started 3 times. Pretty solid, man. I mean, like, he's not this like savvy vet, but I feel like he's young and full of potential. And so I think that he brings something to the Bengals that they really need right now. Like a guy that's actually has some game experience, played in 10 games. Now he gets to join the Bengals. I think he had a RAS score that was pretty crazy too. So he has some athleticism to him. But yeah, they add him, and then they also add another nose tackle who they needed in Justin Rogers. Justin Rogers, I'm looking at his scouting report, courtesy of the 33rd team. They describe him as a big, strong defender with very good size to play either a nose tackle in a 3-4 or one technique defensive end in a 4-3 defensive scheme. He has the natural strength due to his sheer size that allows him to push the pocket at times, which affects the quarterback's comfort. He uses his hands at the point of contact to disengage from blocks and generate penetration and pressure. This is a guy that has a strong, active motor and anchor, and he's 6'2.5", 330 pounds. So if you guys were looking for a nose tackle, this is your guy. And from what people were saying, I think he was with the Cowboys. A lot of people were saying that he was outplaying Mozzie Smith. It was supposed to be kind of a handshake deal for him to come back. And the Bengals apparently swooped in and were like, yo, I know, like, the whole Mozzie Smith, you probably not going to play there. You're probably going to be on the practice squad. You could possibly start week 1 for us at nose tackle, depending on what's going on with McKinley Jackson, because we really just don't have a nose tackle on the roster right now. So this could be an opportunity where you could actually play. So Justin Rogers, is funny. I was actually looking at him in the draft. Now we get McKinley Jackson plus Justin Rogers. It's almost like adding another draft pick. But from what you've seen, bro, what are your thoughts on KJ, them bringing him in? What are your thoughts on Justin Rogers? What are some of your thoughts on just the overall practice squad and some of these other moves that they made, including Samaje Perine going to Kansas City?
He's dead to me, bro. I don't even want to hear his Samaje was supposed to be a Bengal.
P-Ron Posse.
Hey, can I say the defensive line? This is exactly what I was, what I was saying. That's what I wanted, man. Like I'm very happy with that. Like I'm not happy with the Jamar Chase thing, but I am 1000% happy with they identified this is something that we need. We're going to make sure that we put the best players that we can go get through the wire or whatever, and then try to put those guys and implement them on our team. And that's I think that's our biggest weakness at the moment. I think KJ Henry, I was looking at some of his tape earlier today, and I was looking at like a bunch of different stuff. Do you know, out of all of the edge rushers in the preseason, he graded as one of the top ones from PFF at 82.9 PFF grade. Out of 48 snaps, he had 10 pressures, he had a sack, and he had a 20.8 pass rush win rate. So it's one of the highest in all of football in preseason. I get it. You're probably going up against some second and third stringers or whatever. But at the same time, I just thought that we needed a body at the position with the loss of Cam Sample, with the temporary loss of Myles Murphy, and you just in McKinley Jackson, we don't really know, you know what I mean? So we got some guys that I think can hold down the fort. And who knows? I think that KJ Henry a lot and Rodgers. I'm like I said before the show, you put me on the Rodgers. I didn't know him. I was looking at the kid Evan Anderson. The 49ers cut him, but he went back to their practice squad. I do remember watching his tape. I posted like 2 clips of his on my Twitter yesterday. But I'm gonna go check out Rodgers. I just think that you're gonna need that at some point. It doesn't have to be major snaps, but you are gonna need a guy that can line up directly over that center. And at some point, there's no way to really hide that. And I think you'll see, or we're gonna find out how good Lou is. And I think if they can consistently stop the run, I have no worries about this team. I think that our corners are in a really good spot. Last year, I thought they had to help out in too much run support. And if they can get away from that and just cover, I love this roster. I love the team. The defensive line is the only thing that gives me pause at the moment, along with your big fella comment. That's the only thing that's giving me pause. Aside from that, we good to go.
Nah, the ending of last show was crazy too. I gotta relax here. Brad Rupert here, $10 super chat. Appreciate that, bro. It says we have had 3 contract issues this offseason: Higgins, Hendrickson, and now Chase. Rosters, practice rosters, stadium upgrade, money bleeding everywhere. Yeah, man, it has been like the last thing I want to see is Jamar Chase requests a trade from the Bengals. Like we already had 2 already. Not to go back to that, but I'm glad that you said something, because I think as we mentioned, if we didn't mention, Trevion got cut today. I think he's going back to the practice squad, should be back on the roster, just some roster gymnastics. I just seen the nastiest tweet, I think, courtesy of our boy John Sheeran. It's not him that said this. Gentleman by the name of Justin Kenner. And Justin, if you're listening to this, my God.
That dude is an idiot, though. Before you say this is like a Browns dude that's like on their radio. So I commented, I said, this dude is nuts. If you ever interact with this dude on Twitter, he will tell you the Browns are like champions of the world. So before
this is a Browns guy.
Yeah, this is an insane.
Okay, so there's definitely an ulterior motive.
Insane Browns guy.
Let me read this to y'all, man. I gotta read this on air. Best case scenario for the Bengals. ... Jamar. Best case scenario for the Bengals, and then immediately says this: Jamar sits out games. That's the best case scenario. Their offense balls out in his absence. They realize they don't need Jamar Chase. They load up on draft picks by trading Jamar. Like, where are we trading him, Justin? Where are we giving the top 3 receivers
to the Browns?
They save money by signing T. Higgins instead. If Joe Burrow is as good as you all say he is, why does he need Jamar Chase? I love that. I love that because people said the same thing about T. Higgins this offseason. So how does it feel when somebody says that to you about Jamar Chase?
You know what it sounds like? It sounds like an op. So when if I hear like a Bengal fan telling me like, what you mean? y'all don't think Joe Burrow could do it? You sound like this nut job right here. That's exactly what you sound like.
Here's the other thing that they always said about T and all of them too. And now they're saying about Chase. The Chiefs traded Tyreek Hill and won back-to-back Super Bowls. Like,
bro,
bro.
This is another thing, and I don't say this disrespectfully because I respect the Chiefs. Bengals fans got to stop comparing. I hate when I see that. Stop comparing yourselves to the Chiefs. I'm gonna keep it a buck. I'm gonna keep it a stack. The same way that I view the Browns, I don't know how y'all view the Browns. I look at them like, little bro, like I don't care. They beat us in the regular season. You've never won a division. Like I don't really even respect nothing about your team. I don't even know who your statues are. The Chiefs they just won 3 Super Bowls. You coming back and telling them this is what you're about to do, and you got a 3-1 record versus them. They looking at you like how we look at the Browns. I'm just telling you straight up. If I did that and I was just going picking fights with the Chiefs and be like, bro, well, you know we're 3-1. They'd be like, yeah, get a ring, like you know what I mean, like, yeah. And that's the same thing that we do to the Browns.
My thing is this that I hate about that is, like you said, I respect what the Chiefs has done and all of that, right? Like you can't recreate the wheel though, and I feel like the Bengals came with that one player winning a Super Bowl, doing it our way, doing it with the 3 Migos, doing it with all of that. And when you see these teams out here in the NFL, are they emulating us or are they emulating the Chiefs? Because from what I see, everybody's trying to emulate what we did. The Eagles are trying to do what we did. The Dolphins are trying to do what we did. Like nobody's saying, let these good receivers go and let's just worry about where the chips fall.
Right. People got us, like that. You spitting. Teams are trying to fast track. The Bengals fast track their whole. That ties right in with the Jamar Chase, and I ain't about to talk that contract thing again. But the conversation that me and you started with Panay Sewell versus Team Chase versus Team Sewell should live on the internet like forever because it's a very important conversation at a big point in the history of football, because at that time, the traditional way of viewing football of having a better offensive line was now questioned. It still reigns supreme that the trenches always win. You control up front, you control the game, but the Bengals literally figured out a unicorn situation that they could fast track their way to a Super Bowl, and they almost did it. And teams are now sitting around like the Texans and saying, I like my chances of putting 3 wide receivers around this quarterback that I have on a rookie contract. I'd rather go do that than go spend the money to go get the top offensive line because I think I got a faster track to do that. The Dolphins are doing the same thing. And like you said, with the Eagles are doing the same thing too. The Eagles formula is very different because they have a master GM like working the, whatever. But I just think teams are trying to emulate that because that's a fast way to do it. You're never going to get a Pat Mahomes. And when I say don't have a Pat Mahomes, we got Joe Burrow. So I prefer Joe Burrow, me personally. But you're not going to get this unicorn Pat Mahomes behind Alex Smith inheriting a playoff team with the best offensive mind of all time. Like, you can't emulate that. And the number one thing is Pat be healthy. He don't miss no time. And to try to emulate that, stop it. We're going to do it our way. We're going to do that the Wincy way, the Wincinnati way. Like Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Trey Hendrickson, Sheldon Rankins and company. We're going to light them up our way. And we're going to do that. And we're going to go back to the main street. And we're going to go to Cincy and tell everybody, F the Chiefs. We rocking how we doing it on our side. I don't care what the Chiefs is doing. Respect to them. I respect it. But this path that we on is a path they ain't never seen before. I just had to get that off.
Nah, for sure, bro. For sure, man. With that being said, talk to the people. You just did AFC North Roundtable today. Talk to the people about that. Did they show up? Did Cincinnati show up today on AFC North Roundtable?
I feel like we could do more. They did show up, but them purple people be in there crazy. Y'all got to help us. Like the Bengals got to represent in there. So I'm gonna put the link in the chat. It's AFC North Roundtable. Talk to them about your AFC North talk. What you got?
AFC North talk. We're actually taking this week off. We'll be back next week to regularly scheduled programming. So that'll be twice a week, Mondays and Fridays. We'll be back doing the schedule prediction on Monday. Then Friday, we're going to preview the games. You guys already know what time it is. Then it's going to be the recap show and preview shows from then on. I think Monday is going to be probably around like 4:30, so stay tuned for that. And then Friday may be a little bit later in the evening, so make sure you guys tap in with us over there. But also want to shout out BETUS again for sponsoring the show. We truly appreciate them keeping the lights on, doing what they do. And as you guys know, the Wincinnati podcast comes at you every Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. This is the normal time that you'll see us throughout the season. We might do some reaction shows, so just stay tuned. Like, it could be some spontaneous ones here and there sprinkled in for y'all, so we appreciate that. And then, of course, we got the merch and stuff like that, so you guys can head on over to zimhude.com, get some of that merch. Zim just had somebody put a big order in before the show. So if you guys want to get your gear before the season, I suggest you go out and get it now. Also got the Migos 2.0 that just dropped with all 4 receivers on it. So now it's Quattro. We're not even Trace Amigos anymore. It's Quattro Amigos. So definitely make sure you guys check that out. Also, if you aren't watching this video, if you're only on Twitter, take 2 seconds. Please go over to our YouTube channel, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. That helps us so much in terms of YouTube, in terms of growing and stuff like that. If you guys want to help us grow, we truly appreciate that. And also listening to the podcast in audio form, that helps us out as well. So we truly appreciate you guys for rocking with the Wincinnati podcast. Zim, was there anything that you wanted to say before we get out of here, bro?
No, I'm good to go. Just cooking the usuals in here. We got like purple people in here. Like I'm telling y'all gotta outnumber these people. Get active. Let people know that you rocking with the best. We got some really big shows coming up. We got a really special guest that I think I haven't seen him do one interview with anybody. Big interview. If we get this one, I think he's committed to it. But the week going into week 2, be on the lookout for that. So make sure y'all tell everybody that y'all know that the Cincinnati boys is back at it. We still cooking, getting interviews and everything like that. Pull up. I know y'all seen the Midwest Best commercial. We're going to do like a small little gathering next week going before the game. Make sure y'all link up with us. I know Ace probably won't have a chance to get there, but I'm going to represent. I'm going to hold it down. The Bengals Pulse. Make sure y'all still go and click that as well. When you leave out of here, if you go to the Wincinnati brand, if you go and click that, then you'll see the Bengals Pulse. They do awesome work too. That's another one of our great shows that we got under the Wincinnati network. And it's a different perspective. And I like to have all these different people have different voices in our community. And I think it's very important for the uplifting of Bengals community for real.
Nah, for sure. Appreciate you guys rocking with the Wincinnati podcast. We'll see you guys Monday.
Yes, sir.